Yes, I'd like to talk some more again about nurturing happy children. I think every parent, every grandparent, every teacher would like to see all their children be happy. And I think if you'll recall, original Greek thought put happiness in two categories: terminal happiness and normative happiness. Terminal happiness is just like the word says. There's a happiness, but it ends. A vacation, a day off, a party, a trip to a movie. It's all enjoyable and it's legitimate, but it's all terminal. In other words, it's over. Normative happiness does include terminal happiness, but more so, it speaks to who we are as a human being, doing things that mirror our human nature. So there are things related to our growth as a person, our flourishing, our achievements, our getting better at things. Uh, so it's not only that we attain a better position or we get better, but the process of putting the time in, putting the energy in, and then achieving, that is human. And what it does is it doesn't end, but you like the taste of it. It feels good. It feels good to make progress, and you'd like to say, I want to do more. And it applies to thriving. Life is just going to be filled with setbacks and failures and disappointments. But there's a process of growth in that you learn to face things. And instead of ending up blaming someone or becoming a victim, you begin to figure out, okay, how do I overcome? How do I deal with this problem? How do I fix this? And of course, going through hardships like that, nobody wants to purposely, but that's a part of life. You also find out, I can do this. I can face things. And so it becomes, why is it normative? Because then it becomes a part of how you live your life. As difficulties come, as trials come, you face them and you learn how to deal with them. Probably the third facet of growing is learning how to serve other people. That's human. That's a part of every human being, is the responsibilities we might have to other people. Children learning how to help their brother or sister, younger or older, serving them in some way, whatever context that would take. We do that a lot at school, where older children are reading books to younger children, or they partner with them and they ask questions. When you serve other people spontaneously, something that is human, this feels good. I want to do this again. And so it promotes the continuance of the same kind of behavior. You want to serve others. And probably a fourth area of growth would be responsibility, meaning whatever environment, whatever situation I'm in, I have responsibilities. And sometimes it's hard work, or it's difficult, or it's challenging, but it's my responsibility, and I did it. I carried it out. And fulfilling responsibilities also is human. That's a part of how we're made. And these are values they're hard to argue against. It's a part of being human. And so cultivating this, what we're calling normative happiness, this is how we make our children happy, lifelong. It's probably the core 21st century skill. You may have read all kinds of articles on skills for the 21st century, but having a pathway of happiness through normative happiness is the way to ensure whatever pathway, whatever circumstances occur in 30 years, your son or daughter know how to go through that. Now, the question is, how do we make this pathway of normative happiness intrinsically motivated? It's a way I want to live my life. So that happiness becomes an ongoing matter, has different forms, but the richness and fullness of living a happy life is attainable, understanding the processes and being motivated that way. So there's a couple of features in making this idea of normative happiness my practice, my what I intrinsically am motivated toward. And it revolves around success in these areas of growth, having real success that is confirmed verbally by a person, a child, or a young teenager respects. So I'll give you a few examples. Of course, I've taught math. Just recently, I had a class with some younger students, some fourth grade students, and all we were practicing that day is, how to write down on our papers what's going on in our head when we face a word problem. How do we take it apart? And of course, they just hated to do that. They just wanted to figure it out in their head. So I had to go step by step. So when they all turned in their paper, they were a mess. And I had to point out to them, no, this is not how we do it. This is terrible. And you could just see their countenance sink. Even a few of them might have been on the verge of tears because they were good students and hadn't often, run into that obstacle. But we spent the whole time just showing them step by step. How do you do it? What's the next step? What's the next step? Here's the problem. How do we line it up? Piece by piece by piece. And little by little, through the course of the class, they began to get it. And then I would say, beautiful. Wow, you're going to become a mathematician. You're going to become an engineer. That's fantastic. And you saw their little eyes get real wide and a big smile on their face. Well, at that moment, this is very, very interesting because this is what the research says about intrinsic motivation. Two things happen. Number one, they know they did it right because they saw what I modeled on the board. They did it that way. They can see they got it right. So there's some intrinsic awareness. I got it. Then somebody that they respect in that field, in this case, it's math, and I'm the math teacher, verbally awards them, not with stickers, not with money, not with candy, their verbal affirmation. Wow, that was wonderful work. I'm so proud of you. That success then begins them to want them to say, can I do some more? I'd like to try it more. You stimulate the interest in wanting to grow and wanting to become better. And so that success, along with the verbal affirmation from a respected person in that field, starts this motivation, this intrinsic motivation. I like math. I want to do more math. And then, of course, if I'm a good teacher, I will help this happen again and again and again. And since it's at school, I will encourage the other teachers with their writing or with their reading to find that same pathway of a child's success, and you're rewarding them. Same thing as I do this a lot when I coach little children and playing baseball. Of course, they want to hit the ball when they're starting out and they're not that old, 6, 7 years old. You throw the ball, they miss it with their bat. So if you're a good coach, you'll make sure you throw the ball pretty much where they're swinging. And then when they swing and they hit the ball and they feel the joy of smacking the ball out of the infield, again, the coach comes in and says, well done. That was so good. Let's try that again. And again, the motivation is there. They want to do it more. You've hit that piece of success that leads to more success. And of course, the same thing happens with an issue like resilience. Children don't make the traveling soccer team and they can't try out again for another year. Here's where they need an adult with them, understanding the pain, the hurt, the automatic reaction of, well, that's a bad coach, or those other kids were cheating, or I just stink at soccer. I don't know. Okay, as a coach, let's practice. We're going to get ready for next year. And it could take a whole year of encouragement, of talk, putting your arm around the little boy or the little girl. So when they try again, boom, they make it. And when in the making of the team or whatever it was, that overcoming of whatever obstacle they have, that's where the coach or the teacher, especially parents, of course, parents do most of this. That's when the parent stops in and says, you see, look how bad we all felt last year. We were just so disappointed. You were disappointed, and you kept working at it. Even though in the back of the parent's mind, they know they're the ones who did all the pushing, and they're the ones who did all the cajoling to make sure there was adequate practice. But they're successful. They overcame the obstacle of not being good enough to make the traveling team. And so they make a discovery. Now, I would like to emphasize the importance of this adult, whether you're parents or you're a teacher or you're a coach, there's got to be that person who is helping them discover these lessons and supporting them so they can reach those lessons. This goes the same thing with learning how to serve others. So parents may make it a point, older brothers and sisters, you've got to take care of your younger brother and sister. What does that mean? Oh, maybe it means you walk them to school or you accompany them when they're taking a trip somewhere. but you have some responsibility for them. And the parent's guiding it. The parent is coaching that. And of course, serving other people, you hardly even need to approve of it verbally because they know right away this is the way you live. You help others, you support others, you serve others. Nevertheless, the positive comment from mom, from dad, from the teacher, just to pull them aside. Why, the way you helped your brother, I'm proud of you. You're a wonderful big brother, or you're a wonderful big sister. Or the same things related if they're in a classroom and a child, you know, does some extra help for a teacher when the class is over. They know they did something right, but then it's the teacher who steps in and says, I noticed what you did. That's very responsible. Very few students would do that. I'm proud of you. A verbal reward at the exercise of what a child knows is true creates the success. And in the success, you stimulate that motivation. I want to be a person who serves others. I want to be a person who doesn't give up. I want to be a person who doesn't blame other people. And same thing holds for responsibility, growing in your responsibilities, whatever they are at home, from making their bed in the morning to tidying up the playroom, anything like that. They do it, they know it's right, and then there is the verbal reward. Now, this is very different than what came up about 20 years ago in the self-esteem movement, which meant you would just tell children they're wonderful, they're great, they're terrific, we love you. All does nothing for children, nothing at all. In fact, it makes it worse because they think there's something and they've never done anything. What you want to do is to encourage them in the flourishing, in their achievements, in their resilience, in their thriving, in their service to others, or in their taking of responsibility, to point out real things. And in those real things, that's where the reward can come. Verbal reward from a person they respect. And then in that way, you're beginning to strengthen the intrinsic motivation toward normative happiness, creating happy children. It's a huge commitment for parents, for mom, for dad, for teachers, for coaches to do more than just your coach, but to push them to be motivated toward growing, achieving, thriving. But what a reward for the parent, teacher, coach is if they can motivate children to have desire the kinds of normative happiness that'll last lifelong and lead to an enriched, flourishing, and happy life. Thank you.